Hey, good people, how y'all doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 16, episode 7. Let's jump right into the review. I don't know what it is about Angela, but there's just something about her that I really like as a housewife. I think her ability to start some drama, but then also what I don't like about her as a housewife is her ability to start some drama. I don't really know. There's something about her that I can't quite put my finger on. I don't know if it's the Charles Oakley allegedly had a baby on her or what, but I don't know. Angela is really, she might be the common denominator in terms of just problematic. And just hear me out, because I know it's wild for me to say that when you look at people like Brit with the situation with Kenya with the situation with Brit, but Miss Angela has been in feuds with just about everyone with the exception of Drew, which I doubt that will ever happen, being that they're Chicago sisters, and Kelly. But everybody else, you know, Cynthia, whatever. She had an issue with Shamia. She had an issue now with Brit. She had an issue with Porsha. And the situation with her and Porsha, let me just tell y'all, I honestly feel like Angela is waiting in the wings to get back at Miss Porsha for even daring to bring up allegedly that Charles has stepped out. Well, not even that. Porsha said that she knew something about Charles. Now, according to her, she was just playing, but I feel like Angela definitely took that to heart. I was watching one of Porsha's YouTube videos and she was saying that Angela really was getting at her about the whole Charles thing, and we did not see that as the viewer watching the show. So there's a lot more to the story than that. We even see during this episode that Brit mentions this in her confessional. All of the evidence is not looking good for Angela. I know that she is denying that he's done so, but it's just the way that she presented those kids on the first episode and the Wendy Williams of it all, and now hearing from the castmate, girl, where there's smoke, there's fire. So let's just jump right into, all right, so pretty much in this episode, we'll be covering the beginning of the trip to Nashville. We'll talk a little bit about this feud with Porsha and Drew and why I find that it's just not important and I'm already over it. And then I want to discuss also the Ralph and Drew of it all. And I want to start there. Let's talk about Ralph and Drew. I don't know what has become of the case between these two. I did try to do an internet search to see if anything came up with the records being unsealed, but I have not found anything. If you guys know something, let me know. But anyways, Drew and Ralph are going to the courthouse. Drew wants to continue to keep their divorce proceedings private, whereas it looks like Ralph is fighting to have that information made public. Drew claims that she's trying to protect her children and that there's a lot more negativity surrounding what they'll uncover with Ralph than herself. But the way that she responds after the ruling, which the ruling says that Ralph can stay at their home in the basement, of course, and that also they will unseal these records, her response to that suggests that there's a lot more in there than she's telling us herself. Like maybe she's not coming across as such a good person, such a good wife. Maybe she's cheated and stepped out on him as well. I'm not really sure, but she was really upset after the ruling. She basically cursed him out a little bit and broke down in the car on her way home. I think when it comes down to Drew, I just don't know what's real or what's fake. We see earlier in the episode as well when she sits down with Angela that it's been exposed. She is not related to Michael Jordan. She was trying to say in last week's episode that she was his cousin, but Angela, doing her due diligence, okay, being the good housewife that she is, decided she was going to reach out to Marcus Jordan, who is Michael Jordan's son, and ask him. Now, if you guys know, you know, Charles Oakley and Michael Jordan have a very long-standing friendship that stems back from them both playing for the Chicago Bulls in the NBA. So these two are close. Angela is, I don't know what her relationship is with Michael Jordan, being that she is Charles Oakley's wife. I would think that they have somewhat of a relationship, but I would not be surprised if they don't. It does appear, because she mentions his son Marcus, that they have a relationship. So I don't know, but she basically exposes Drew and is like, girl, you was lying. Drew tries to play it off and say that she was joking. they run the tape back and there was nothing that alluded even slightly to Drew joking about being his cousin. She was being dead serious. So I said all of that to say you just don't know what you're getting with Drew. A theory that I have is girlfriend just expected to be a kept woman, because it seems like Ralph is always saying he pays for this, he pays for that. Drew has been looking for ways, or her lawyer at least has found little ways that she does not have to pay certain things, like their exterminating bill. I don't know what's going on with these two. I could understand the desire for her not to want him living in the same house, even if he is in the basement. And I suppose if he doesn't have anywhere to go himself, I'm not surprised that he's fighting to stay at the home. The thing that I find so ironic about the whole situation, though, is wasn't he the same person that when they were married would leave for like 3 weeks at a time or however long without saying anything to her? So he was fine having a place to go then, but now that they're getting a divorce, he can't find a place to stay. I just found that to be interesting as I'm doing this review. Let's move on. Just circling back to Drew really quick. Did you guys know that she and Brit had an issue with one another? Now, I have suspected that Drew and Kenya have been or have gotten a lot closer than obviously they started out on the show. You guys recall during Angela's event when things were heating up between Kenya and Brit, Kenya kind of was trying to get Drew to come with her to go outside or whatever. And it dawned on me then that they have a closer relationship than we've seen them have in the past. So I don't know if the issue with Drew as it pertains to Brit was the fact that she was and is a good friend to Kenya, or what exactly the situation was. But these two have a sit down. I guess for Brit, she wants to get to the bottom of why Drew would bring up allegedly knowing who the male is in the photos that Kenya exposed at her spa launch. And Drew, once again, caught in a lie, is saying that, she wasn't being serious, she was joking. But I agree with Brit, that's nothing to joke about, especially given all of the stuff that she's going through now, and also based on the fact that Drew says that she understands where Brit is coming from as it relates to getting publicly scrutinized and judged incorrectly. So you would think with all of that, she would not lie on this woman. But again, I think that she's cool with Kenya and she's trying to keep that relationship. So that's what it is. So they have a sit down. They kind of clear the air. And I just needed to point that out. Let's move on. It's also noteworthy for me to point out the fact that Drew asked Brit straight out if she ever sold her kitty cat or if she's ever done any type of orn, if you know what I'm saying. Put the P in front of there and you know what I'm talking about. There are several different conversations amongst the ladies in the group. Brit talking to her husband, Kelly, Porsha, and Cynthia talking. And then Drew and Angela talking about the peace brunch that they had and how everything went with that. In their respective groups, they also talk about the Porsha and Drew of it all. Porsha basically doesn't want to have anything to do with Drew. That's what I'm gathering. To be quite honest, I don't know why this whole feud between the two of them is being dragged out. I'm not interested in it at all. Dennis and Drew are still filming. Porsha seems to be fine with it, to be quite honest. And I don't think there's anything there. I think although I would like to see Porsha and Dennis back together, I don't think that that's a possibility anymore for them. And I just don't think that she is focused on that situation at all, especially because she has so much going on with Simon. Angela is really pressed to have Drew a part of this Nashville trip. The women are getting ready to go to Nashville. Angela is late and misses the plane. We have seen this before. She's very nonchalant with it though. The ladies arrive in Nashville. We know how this group does. There's always going to be people who get the best rooms. That would be Porsha and Shamia. And then everybody else kind of fends for themselves. They did have the one room with like 4 beds in there. That would be a no-go for me personally. But hey, they made it work and it wasn't this whole dramatic situation. I really find that Kelly is a girl's girl because she kind of led the charge with being okay with her, I believe it was her, Cynthia, and Brit being in the same room together. She was cool with that. At the dinner table, they're kind of discussing the Brit and Angela of it all. Brit's story is the fact that she's being investigated by, I guess, the people that she works for or the people who hold her licensing. I'm kind of confused by the whole thing because, as Angela states, there has to be cause for these people to revoke her license. And something like what went down, where clearly she's a victim of someone trying to tarnish her name, let's say, there's nothing there in terms of any reason as to why she would lose her licensing. But she, I think, is really trying to get as much sympathy from the group as she can. So she's going on with this story. The women are discussing it and discussing the status of Angela and Brit's relationship. Angela then arrives. She kind of senses that the women have been talking about her, and she drops the bomb that she basically wants Drew to be a part of the Nashville trip. Now, the audacity for her to think that it's up to her to make that decision. Now, let's just understand, this is reality TV. As soon as Porsha alluded to earlier in the episode that she did not want Drew to be a part of her birthday celebration, I already knew some way, somehow, Drew was going to find her way on this trip. And sure enough, next episode, we will see that. So it comes as no surprise how she takes part in Porsha's birthday trip. But it's just the audacity of Angela to kind of make this not even a request, almost like a demand, almost like she was telling Porsha, this is what's going to happen and you're going to be fine with it. I was surprised in that moment that Porsha did not go in on her. But she decides to wait until she's around a group of her friends. They've all been drinking to kind of bring this up with Angela. And I'm gonna be honest, I was disappointed because I felt like I needed to feel that energy from Porsha before. What do you guys think about that? So she's saying to Angela, girl, is your wig too tight? Because Angela's still going on about wanting Drew to be a part of this birthday celebration. Porsha's up in arms, and we are going to see a showdown of some sorts between Porsha and Drew in next week's episode. That's pretty much the main things that I wanted to discuss about this week's episode. You guys drop some comments down below and let me know what you thought about it, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.